Yeah, I almost forgot. I need to say goodbye to this guy because he's brand new. I mean, look at how small he is. On this training field where they actually train police dogs. And the reason I'm out here is because I want to test the Avata. I can't pronounce it correct, just live with it. I have a gig filming a war, like a staged war with explosions and everything. And I really want to use the Avata for it. So let's do this. And oh my God, did you see that? Oh my God, look at this, look at this, look at this, look at this. In true to usual form, I forgot the battery for the GoPro. Still gonna leave this on, still gonna fly with it because I want to test the Avata some more, and the added weight should show me how this flies. Let's go. So the first thing we have to do is we have to align everything again. So let's actually do this. Now that's full power. It's not a lot of power, but it will do. I do feel the wind definitely grabbing the drone, that's for sure. We're flying without any stabilization on. The picture looks pretty damn good, I have to say. It looks very natural, very real. There's nothing wrong with this picture, that's for sure. It's a little bit wonky on the turns. It feels like it's oversteering my turns in a way. But the transmission is very good. I have set the camera angle. Let me see, I have to mess with it. So camera angle is about 11 degrees. So right now I'm imagining, and this is maybe a good trick for you, that these barrels here, whoa, these barrels are actually people. Whoa, oh, did you see that? Oh my God, that was, yeah, that was not good. That's really not something you want to happen. I wonder if that's the added weight of the GoPro or if that's just an inherent flaw in the DJI system. So doing something like I'm doing right now seems pretty solid. I don't know what's gonna happen if I eat up one of those things, these horn things, whatever you call them, these things here, if one of them hits the motor, because I do think that it might actually block and kill the whole thing. So let's see here. See, it did that pretty nice, but it is very windy out here today. I mean, it's pretty windy. I would never fly with my 250 gram. Let's see how windy it is. I wouldn't fly with my 250 gram at this. Well, I would, but I wouldn't recommend it, and it might not be a good idea to do. Sounds like somebody's coming now. Let's see. Are there any people near me? No, there is in fact not. That's always nice. But I do like the picture. I mean, if the picture in reality is as good as this, then wow. See, we're flying behind a building right now, and over here it's pretty good range. Only have 40% battery, which means that I heard from a friend that you shouldn't begin doing power loops at this low battery, because what's gonna happen is that it's just gonna fail on you. So we're just gonna take it a little bit easy. I'm gonna test some stuff here. I definitely do feel the added weight of the GoPro, but honestly, seeing this picture right now makes me think maybe I'm just not gonna put the GoPro on. Whoa, that was scary. Okay, interesting. I don't know what happened. I was flying and then all of a sudden it just did this thing. This could be due to the added weight of the GoPro. I'm thinking it actually has something to do with this. What I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna go check, hopefully it's okay. Then I'm gonna remove the GoPro and we're gonna fly again and see if that changes things. This thing, it wasn't a big crash, let's be honest. Let's try this one more time without the GoPro. You can probably hear the wind picking up right now. So I don't even know if you guys can hear me, but this is a crazy amount of wind to be flying in. I mean, come on. But let's do it. It still flies nice. I mean, it really is just a nice quad. Let's see if I can actually do something here with the range, see how well that goes. There's an okay range over here. Image is getting a little bit grainy. Nothing too bad. doesn't really like being flipped though, not too much. I mean, it does do it, but again, the wind might have something to do with this. So if I was to fly around people, I would want to be able to stop, look at them, but notice how I'm gaining altitude whenever I'm doing this. It feels like it always wants to go up, and I think that's due to the camera angle and just the way it's designed. So let's lower the camera angle a little bit. Let's do like 4 degrees. So right now we're imagining people sitting around this table. We want to get close. We want to keep the same altitude. Whoa, that's a little bit too low. Holy crap. We want to do this again. That wind though, that wind is bad. But then again, when you're flying gigs like this, you cannot expect there to be no wind. And I do have to fly this all at once. So now let's try to do a coordinated tour. We imagine that this is a car driving. We're gonna go over the car. We're gonna look at the car. Yay, it looks so nice, the car. Oh, there's something going on over here. Let's see, what is that? What is that? It's 3 fat people lying down with their legs open. So I have to fly through them. I don't know, it's not very realistic, but you know, it is what it is. Oh, wind. See, that's actually pretty nice. Right now, I totally felt that the wind died down there. I really did immediately catch a much better control over it. Falling straight down is not one of its strengths. Let's actually test this out. So we go like this, and we go like, whoa, falling. Ooh, it handled that pretty well, but I could feel the micro jitters in it though. I could feel that it was like, you know? So this was a little bit surprising. In essence, it flies really well. I mean, it does. So handling a lot of wind like this for a quad that's 400 grams, that's pretty impressive. The reason I crashed before must have been due to the GoPro's weight, and I was only using a semi-naked GoPro. So if you were to add like a full-size GoPro on top, which weighs a lot more, mine weighs like 55 grams, I think 60 grams. So that's 120 extra grams on top. I wouldn't recommend that. You could fly with that, but it would be indoors, or it would be when there's no wind, and you couldn't do any like power moves or anything like that, that's for sure, because it just doesn't react well to it. I'm hoping the Avata's image is good enough for what I'm going to use it for on Sunday. It really handled well. It was good in proximity, even with the wind. Even when you're going through something and you have that wind pushing you in the back, I felt it was pretty solid actually. It doesn't steer as good as my QAV 250, but then again, I wouldn't take my QAV 250 out in weather like this. I really wouldn't, because there's no point. I would use a bigger drone. I would be using like a Shen drone, something. So let's go home and actually check if the footage is worth it, because if you didn't need to use a GoPro on this, I mean, we can dream, right? Let's go home and have a look at what it can do.
Did you miss me?
Let's have a look at the color grading. Now, it should be said that this is definitely not ideal. We don't have an ND filter on, so as you can see here, everything is pretty much blown out. Not having an ND filter means that the sky is going to be harsh, because we need to expose the image pretty bright, but the shadows are burned out as well. So without an ND filter, this is too bright, this is too dark, and there's no middle ground really. Having said that, I really want to use the Avata for my gig on Sunday, and I'm more interested in, not can I save this, but is it possible for me to take the image you're seeing right now, which is this, and actually color grade it so that it becomes usable. I do know that there's going to be some trade-offs, so let's have a look at the negatives of the Avata's, oh, I said it right, the Avata's camera right now. First of all, the sky's blown out. Normally you would reduce your highlights. Now we're just going to reduce them a lot, and look at what happens. This is not good unless you're in a Mario trippy kind of game. But on the GoPro, if you were to do the same thing, i.e. fly with no ND filter and reduce the highlights on a burned out image, you would get the same effect. It wouldn't be as harsh as this, but it would still be something that I wouldn't want to use. So for that reason, you would take the highlight and you would basically run the highlight up to a point where you can't see it. So nobody likes a blown out sky, but this is actually passable. The next thing you would want to do is you would want to begin pulling and changing the image, but you can see every time I pull just a little bit, it looks nicer, but at the same time it also gives a darker image. And over here my car is completely gone in the shadows. So therefore you would add some shadows to that image. You would maybe raise it up a little bit, you would add some contrast, you would add some color, and suddenly you have a pretty good picture. I mean, the difference between this and that is not large, but it's enough. But we want to go further. So what I did is I created a color grade for this image to try and make it look way more, not cinematic, but just give it more character and feel. And let's apply that now. Boom. So this is my color grade. Have a look at it without and with the color grade. You can see the shadows are almost eating my car again, but there's way more depth in the picture. If you look at this area right here, when we do like this, it seems a bit flat, but now you have some depth to it. If you look at me right here, my pants are almost black and my back is almost gone, but it still looks way more defined. And overall, the tone of the colors look nice. The sky doesn't even look that blown out. But yeah, it's definitely still an issue with those ND filters. So let's jump over here. This is the same color grade on the same picture. We're going to remove the color grade. If we look at this clip right now, this to me shows another one of the Avata's disadvantages. So right now we're flying with an extremely high shutter. We're flying with shutter 500. The higher the shutter, the sharper the image. But if you take a look at this isn't sharp. And even if we zoom out, actually let's go full screen on this, this is just not that sharp. So there is something about the sharpness on the Avata that is just not good enough, to be honest. If I'd flown with an ND filter, I would have had a less high shutter, making this even less sharp in theory. So the question is the Avata actually sharp enough to be used? But I do think it's a good thing. So let's go back and have a look. This is without a color grade. Once we apply our color grade, everything gets a lot more defined. Now this color grade consists of some different things that I've shown before. If we pause the image somewhere, you can see that it's still not that sharp, but it does have a more defined look. But look at what happens when we play the clip. Now everything appears sharp. Everything actually looks filmic sharp, in that sense that it's not over sharpened, it's just right. And I don't know why this is, but I do think that the Avata has been tuned for having a picture that is closer to a mavic than a GoPro, i.e. less action cam and more cinematic cam. I also do think that saving this picture like this, I mean the color tones and everything in this is pretty radical in terms of how much I can do to it and still make the image look good. So for my gig on Sunday, I will definitely be using the Avata only with its own camera on top. I'm not going to put the GoPro on due to the crash I had. That would simply be stupid. And I also want as much flight time as possible. At the same time, I don't have the ND filters, so if there's a cloud like this up here, it's just going to appear like this. If it's going to be overcast and a cloudy day, it's probably going to be more white or gray up top, but it's going to be what it is, because what people are going to be looking at is the people in the movie or the tanks or the explosions and so on and so forth. And I do actually think that this image right here is very impressive. If you have a look at the image like this image as it is right now, on a still frame granted, looks blurry in the background, it looks not too sharp in the front. But the overall colors of it is way more flat than the GoPro is. Once we add the color grading, I just think the image actually becomes balanced, solid and balanced. And I do think that I will have a much easier time using this image combined with my Mavic Cine 3, which is going to be filming in progress. So for that reason, I am actually giving a few bonus points to the Avata. I do think that the camera on this thing is not a beast, but it's a refreshing new camera because it's no longer an action cam on an FPV quad. It's more of a Mavic type cam that is just not as good as the Mavic.
on an FPV quad. And I think that that might be a really interesting premise. So we won't know until the ND fillers hit and people begin doing some serious work with it. I will be doing my contribution on Sunday, so I hope you're going to be watching then. That's all for now. Thank you and have a nice day. Bye.